Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it is Tim Cox, and I usually don't do this, but I want to put this on my personal Facebook page as well as LinkedIn and others, because what we're about to share with you on this next podcast is I'm going to try not to get uber emotional, but I heard this story several months back as I was in a conference in Napa Valley, California, beautiful Napa, and I heard this story. And I truly had to fight back the tears. Listen, I hope if you have someone struggling, going through something that seems insurmountable, you might want to throw them this podcast. I had the pleasure of meeting my friend, Marat Pashkevich, a long time ago, but had no idea of his story because Marat is walking around living and breathing, just like we're walking around living and breathing. But what a phenomenal story. We're naming this episode, Never Say Never. One man's story of overcoming insurmountable odds. You see, Marat, when he was, I believe, just in high school, and we're going to unpack that, jumped into the wrong end of a pool and broke his neck. They told him he would never walk again. Had a wheelchair, a Stephen Hawking type wheelchair with a joystick, and he refused to accept. And we're going to be talking about his journey and what he did. And hopefully you can send this to somebody that needs it. Hopefully you can send this to someone that needs encouragement and maybe lift it up, because I know he's even writing a book, and just so happy, number one, to call him friend. And as we were sitting in that outdoors of that hotel, just truly inspired me. Go ahead and click on the link below, send it out. You can find it on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Do us a favor and subscribe to Tim Talks. We're trying to make a difference. We want to make your life just a little bit better. Click the link. You're not going to regret it.
No one is smarter than everyone. Let's continue to get better together.
Welcome, everyone, for this special edition of Tim Talks. We are so fired up. I want to give you a little bit of what I got a few months ago, the encouragement. And man, I'm just going to buckle up. I would first like to introduce to you my friend, and just, I don't even know where to start. Marat Pashkevich was, when I first met you, Marat, you were with Porsche for quite a while. And now Marat, is at with the indiGO group, who is now the director of technology and sales. Marat, hey, thank you, brother, and welcome to Tim Talks.
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so man, I'm just gonna dive right into it, because I know that people have busy lives, and man, I just want to give them the meat and potatoes. So let me just set the stage. So we are at one of Brian Pash's conferences, DMSC, several months ago in beautiful Napa Valley, California. And to look at you today, walking around, I had no idea of your story. I mean, just absolutely no idea. And as we sat down and had a conversation, I'm like, oh my gosh, this story has got to be told. And I'm so happy to find out that you're writing a book. I was happy to find out that you are even traveling and helping others in similar situations. So let's just dive right into it. You are an athlete, and then just tell us what happened, brother. Tell us what happened and kind of take us down that path.
Yeah. So to kind of set the tone for all of it, I always grew up, athletic, right? I played 18 years of ice hockey. Probably had my best season right before I got hurt. So August 10th, 2009. Was when the accident happened, and I was in my hockey teammate's backyard, and he's got an in-ground pool, and we're just having a good time. Just cracked open my first beer.
And how old are you at this point?
22 years old.
Got it. Got it.
22
Got it.
years old. So it was the last, it was a week before my last semester in business school
Got it.
at Georgia State, right? So I'm doing this dive across the pool. I've done it before, and I misjudged the dive.
Mm,
And when I misjudged the dive, and I was 252 pounds at that point, powerlifting, hockey. Uh, so I hit the pool right where it slopes into the deep end, right? And at 4 feet, essentially,
mm,
252,
mm,
dead center. And I crushed my fifth vertebrae, my C5
mm,
in my neck. And when that vertebrae exploded, it cut into my spinal cord
mm,
several millimeters. And, I grew up going to the hospital with my father. He was a neurologist. So lights went out for a second and then they came back and I thought I saw something floating in front of me. And it was my vision that was shook. And I remember, man, this is bad. I'm paralyzed because my arms were behind my back. My body was
you immediately knew what was going on.
I knew what was going on. Obviously, I didn't know how bad it was, obviously, but I was like, this is a bad situation, right? I can't feel my body. I was a couple of inches from the top of the water because my body kind of bounced back after the impact. And my first thought was, I'm probably gonna die.
Mm,
And then I'm thinking my dad is gonna kill me if I
mhm.
don't die. And then my mom's gonna kill me because she's the general, right? And and after that, they say life flashes before your eyes, before you die. And that was it, man. That was a movie reel that just kicked on. And you don't even think about holding your breath or anything like that. And so spent a couple of minutes underwater and my hockey teammate Mike eventually realized I wasn't playing around. Those guys thought I was joking, and my body was at the deep end of the pool. Right, so they pull me to the top of the water, and I wake up to them yelling, "Marat, Marat, wake up!" And I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. And the first thing I say to Mike is, "Hey, man, stabilize my back and my neck, and don't pull me out of the water. I'm paralyzed." He's like, "Are you sure?" Yeah, absolutely. And then the EMTs get there. Then I'm joking around with these guys. I'm like, it's going to take more than two of you guys to get me out of the water. Um, and then as soon as they pulled me out, brother, that's when the pain set in.
Mm,
It's the most excruciating thing that's ever happened. So, uh, long story short, I go to North Fulton. We've got a phenomenal surgeon there, Dr. Charles Weaver. Um, and again, priorities, right? I'm in my favorite Alpine Star board shorts, and these guys are, set to operate, and I'm like, yeah, man, just don't cut them off of me. When I saw those scissors, they're like, yeah, we can't do it any other way. So, anyway, 5 hour surgery. They fused me 4 through 6, C4 through C6, 2 titanium cages, 6 rods, 4 screws. I spent a week in ICU, which was really miserable. And then a lady from the Shepherd Center, she came to see me, and after surgery, the only thing I could do was this like little chicken flap, right, move my arms up and down. And I'm thinking, okay, today I can do this. Tomorrow it'll come back, right? The swelling will go down, whatever. Um, I've got my dad around, so he knows what's going on. So I'm thinking, all right, maybe a week or so, I'm gonna be out and things will be good. And this lady comes from the Shepherd Center, and she's like, well, here are your options. And she said, based on your CT scans and everything, um, this is gonna be a long process. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, couple of months. It's like, well, what is a long process? Couple of months, couple of weeks? Like, what are we looking at here? She's like, could be years.
mm,
And that was tough to hear. Um, and so I went to the Shepherd Center, right, and decided to go there, which is probably the world's premier brain and
yeah.
spinal cord injury facility in Atlanta. So lucked out that it happened in Atlanta. And after a couple of weeks, my doctor, she told me that my chances of walking were about 1%,
Mm,
right? and that hit pretty hard. Um, However, being as stubborn as I am, and just loving life, man, I wanted to get back up on my hockey skates. I wanted to drive and race cars again, be out on the track. Um, I just I had decided already that there's no other option for me. I'm gonna walk, right, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get there. So um that's when the real battle, the real war with myself and every all the odds started, right? And I was lucky again, like I said, my father was there, and he put together a protocol, of course, that is not available in the States, unfortunately. But the two injections that I had, cerebrolysin and placenta, plus about 90 pills a day, right? So that was really, really difficult to basically shove down 30 pills, before every meal. And I got into it with my dad on a daily basis. I know it was all for the best, right? But it's just tough, man. And um, going from being an athlete to your body basically at rest, and having nurses and techs come and having to flip you over on your side, roll you over. I mean, I couldn't move anything. I couldn't extend my arm, move my fingers, nothing. um, that was really, really difficult, and i just I just treated every day like a game. That was what my outlook was. It was, what can I do today that I couldn't do yesterday, right? And even the smallest incremental changes, right? That was a win for me. And I part of overcoming, this, um, was a deep focus on my body's ability to, you know, send a signal in a new way. And there's a beautiful thing called neuroplasticity, and it's your body's ability to find new pathways to send a signal. And I think that because I was taking about 2 hours out of my day, and just with my eyes closed, my favorite music on, but focus on those movements, right? Thinking about skating and leg press, and bench press, all of my movements that I did in the gym and in my training, right? I think my body found those pathways, right? That signal finally made its way down. And I remember there was a physical therapist, Jennifer, and she's kind of a legend at the Shepherd Center, and she's kind of semi-retired. She comes in on a weekend. And she says, "We're going to get you moving today." And I smirked, and I was like, "All right, let's see what you got." And we're sitting at the edge of this training mat, and sure enough, I lifted my left leg off the ground just a couple of millimeters.
And how long is
And
this after your
this
accident?
was this was probably about a month afterwards,
Okay.
month and a half. And that was it for me. I knew that small little movement, that was the start of me being able to 100% be able to walk again.
I gotta ask, because look, in life, they wrote in a book a long time ago, in this world, you will have trouble. We all have trouble. And I hope somebody listening this today, I'm praying that you're not going through what Marat has gone through, but maybe there's a lot of people, hopefully there's people that are going through exactly what Marat is going through, had went through. But I'm just thinking about the daily struggle. Like you and I are wired a lot alike. Like you're a mover and you're here, then you're there. Like I get that. I think that's why we get along so well. But tell me about the daily battle when and maybe tell the story of dining with dignity. Hopefully I didn't botch that up, because I've told your story, I don't know, probably 100 times since we've met a few months ago. But and you
Yeah,
just refuse to believe. But in that room, because you were there, what, 4 years, right? Right?
essentially, yeah. I guess inpatient was from August to December.
Yeah.
And then I kind of took a little break for a few weeks just to be able to have time to myself. And
Right.
then the outpatient training was, essentially 4 years, right?
Unbelievable.
And that was every day, Monday through Friday. You're at the hospital at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., and then you're working through it till about 5. And that was my job. So I kind of lost everything. Everything got put on hold. And that was my main, goal was I need to get my life back. I need to be able to have my independence. And that's what a majority of people take for granted on a daily basis. But
Mm.
yeah, to talk about dining with dignity, and that this is the problem with a lot of institutions and hospitals these days is they go so much by the book, right? And I understand that. So in my case, they said, listen, here's how bad it is for you, so you're going to have to learn how to adapt. And they gave me this dining set, some silverware, and it's called Dining with Dignity. And they do a great job, right? And they took a fork and a knife and a spoon and they welded rings on it, and I had to slide my fingers on it. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why would I want to do that if my goal is to regain my functionality,
Mm.
originally what I was born with, right? Or what I learned to do. Um, and I got into it with a therapist and the doctors there because they're like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to learn. And I refused, and they got mad at me because my mom would feed me or whatever it was. But in the off time in my training, I was rolling myself down, wheeling myself down to the gym after physical therapy. I'd go and work out more. I'd do anything that I could. I mean, I would completely exhaust myself to where at 5 p.m. Um, at one point, 2, 3 weeks into it at Shepherd, all my friends and teammates and my hockey teammates are coming to support me. I didn't even have energy to talk to them. Not that I didn't want to, but I was just wrecked. I've exhausted all of my energy on training, and I just want to get a good night's sleep. And at that point, you can't even really get a good night's sleep just because you're in so much pain, right? But I just want to max out on the downtime to be able to train even harder the next day, right? So that's and because I refused the whole dining with dignity, I remember that I woke up one morning in my bed and I was kind of tilted forward already, and it was about 6:30 in the morning, and there was a little table in front of me with a bowl of fruit, and there was a plastic fork stuck into a piece of melon. And I reached out, not thinking, and I grabbed that plastic fork and I fed myself.
So you woke up, just habit, muscle memory, whatever. You didn't think
Yeah,
about it. It's just, it's a story of perseverance. It's a story of mind over matter. It's a story of we are what we think we are. And you just picked the fork out and started eating the fruit, right? What
yeah,
happened to
yeah,
you? Did you, as you were eating the fruit, did you realize, holy crap, this is what I just did? I mean, kind of
yeah,
take me
yeah.
through that.
I mean, after the first bite, man, I was like, I
Right.
just did that.
Right.
Right. And just so happened my nurse walks in, and that was it. I mean, she said, I got you. I caught you. Nobody can feed you now. And I'm like, look, I'm game. Like, I'm ready to feed myself. I'm ready to have full independence, full control back. Like, whenever we're in a tough situation, here's where we need to look at it. As soon as you let yourself believe
Mm.
a certain outcome, there is a switch that flips in your brain that feeds the rest of your body, right? And if you flip that switch and you say that this is done, right? I'm done. I won't be able to walk again. I'm broken. I'm sick. I have cancer. I'm gonna die. Um, that's when it all ends for you, right? And and it becomes a negative outcome. But if you look at it from, okay, the doctor told me this, but I'm going to fight. I've got a real chance. I believe in myself. I believe in my support system, right? That's that extra bit, it pushes you. and your brain doesn't shut off, those signals, whatever it might be in your body, right? I mean, I had um, a Reiki master come out, right? And I had crystals in my hands and on my knees, and she was waving a crystal in front of me, balancing my body's chakras. And if you told me something like that at 18 years old, I would have told you to listen, lay the crack pipe down. But you
Right.
know what? My third session in doing Reiki, and I'm still in a power wheelchair, okay? And I'm steering this thing with my wrists, right? Um, and I still can't feel my body. And Chen, she's waving this crystal in front of me. And all of a sudden, it's like somebody just shoved my lumbar back in my body. And I felt my lower back. And I said, you know what? Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I'm a believer. Right. And my friend's father called out his church members. They had a really powerful prayer group, and they came out. And listen, I grew up Jewish, but and they're Christian, and it doesn't make a difference to me. God is God, right? And that energy um, is incredibly powerful, right? The power of prayer is just completely next level, right? And I'm in this prayer circle, man. I was overwhelmed with positivity
Mm,
and gratefulness. I just broke down, man, into tears.
mm,
And I was so thankful. So there's just so many different elements that came into play, whether it was the injections, it was the prayer groups, it was the Reiki, it was the acupuncture, it was, having some of the best physical therapists and occupational therapists and technology available to me at the Shepherd Center to get through this, right? And that's another thing, right? I can't be thankful enough for those trainers that pushed me,
mm,
right? They got me. They understood, the level of, I guess, athlete that I was and how hard I was willing to fight. And so they didn't take it easy on me, right?
mm,
They always pushed me to the next level. Um, and then as soon as I could, and so my accident happened August 10th, and my mother's birthday was October 7th. And I tried my hardest to walk. I wanted to surprise her. But on October the 8th, I finally stood up in the parallel bars. And I took 4 steps, my first 4 steps.
mm,
My doctors were in awe, right? And my left leg was the one that moved well, and I had to like sling my right leg over. And then after that, it was incredibly challenging. I remember standing up thinking, all right, well, now I understand why a lot of people um, just end up wanting to use the wheelchair, right? Because even if they do have the ability to stand up and walk a bit, it's incredibly tiring, and you have to think through every single movement.
mm,
So the other thing that we don't realize often, and how blessed we are, is how amazing of a automated computer our mind and body is, right? We don't think about walking sideways or backwards or jumping, or moving our fingers and clenching on something, or going downstairs, for instance, right? For me, that's I have to think about every movement and what that looks like. To this day, I still have no proprioception in my right leg or my foot. And so when I walk downstairs with the right foot, it feels like, am I stepping into the Grand Canyon or not? Every step. I know it's not looking down, but the fact is it's telling me something completely different. And I've learned to overcome that, right? I've learned to overcome the nerve pain I have in my hands. It's constant. It feels like somebody's always stabbing and hammering at my hands. And I've just learned to tune it out. I only notice it when I talk about it now.
mhm,
Mind over everything, right? You set yourself up for a positive outcome. You think about that positive outcome and you make it a routine on a daily basis. And believe me, that end goal will come to you. And you're going to get there and you're going to think back and be like, holy crap, like that's the vision I had 2 months ago. Right. That's where I wanted to be, whether it's business, and I catch myself all the time with the insane goals that I set, in my personal and professional life, where I want to be, what I want to be doing. And it's sure enough, 2, 3, 4, 6 months, a year. I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I thought about that. I remember when I first had that light bulb flicker and where I wanted to be at. And now I'm here and it's incredibly rewarding."
So speaking of rewarding, tell me, because you told me, hey, I'm going to be in Fayetteville such and such a date because I'm talking to talk to us a little bit about there's two things, and I think you've done a good job of already doing it. I want you to first of all tell us a little bit about what you're doing as far as encouraging people in similar situations. Talk about that, and then we'll have one more question, and then we'll land the plane.
I've been fortunate enough. Some of my friends and former trainers have reached out with patients that they think that could benefit from, the protocol that I had, or just some motivation. And so I've been able to help some people, regain a little bit more mobility or independence, which is a really, really important thing, right? And so the focus, this year I did quite a bit of public speaking and motivational speaking after my accident. And then when I finally could work again, right, that kind of timed out, but I realized that's really my calling, right? And I love helping people and being able to give them their renew or revive that energy, right, and push them beyond their limits. And that's really what I want to do. So I'm writing a book. I'm going to finish this year. I don't have a title yet, but
Maybe you do.
you'll be one of the first people to know. Yeah, maybe I do.
Yeah, maybe you do. Dude, I think, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, and really that's it. And one of the most important things I ask people, and when I did speak, was at the end I usually ask, hey, how many people play that the lottery game with each other? Like, what would you do if you won the lottery? And just about everybody raises their hand, right? And so I'll pick on one person. I'll say, yeah, I want that the Lambo, right? And the second person, I want the big house. I want the big yacht. That's cool. But what you don't realize is that every day when you wake up, you win the biggest lottery of your life. When you can roll out of bed on your own, get on your 2 feet, walk over, brush your teeth, make a cup of tea, coffee, dress yourself, and get to doing what you're doing. And how you spend your time that day is how you invest those winnings. Right,
that hits home for me. My dad's going through that. He had a stroke back in November of 2020. He's still in the wheelchair. I know a stroke, messes with the mind. A lot of things that, we thought we were going to lose him. I want to make sure I play this for him and my mom. And there's so many people that, and my daughter's an OT. And her husband's a PT. So I think this is encouraging for them to continue to do what they do. Because what a difference that they can make. So as we land the plane, just speaking to somebody right now, and you've dropped so many bombs that are just so good. Be grateful for the little things, but speaking to the camera at that person struggling, speaking to the camera, that person going through whatever they're going through, speaking to the camera, to that person laying in that hospital bed, speaking to the camera and just give them a little encouragement before we close.
Listen, the most important thing is having that positive mindset. Don't let a single person break you or tell you otherwise. Focus on that outcome that you want in your life, right? Close your eyes, repeat it to yourself for 20 minutes, for 2 hours a day, whatever it takes to kind of burn into you, and make sure that you do that until you reach your end goal. That's probably the most important thing that I can, give somebody advice on, is don't let it escape your mind until you get there. It gives you that much more of a chance.
Marat, I think I speak for everybody that's going to be listening to this podcast. I'm so grateful for the time that you spent. I'm grateful to call you friend. And
Likewise.
again, I was just blown away several months ago. Hopefully this had nothing to do with business, had nothing to do with automotive, had nothing to do with business, but I
No.
think it had something to do with something so much more important. What would happen? You know, I tell people all the time, it's very difficult to achieve greatness if we do not daily wake up grateful. And what are we grateful? We chase all of these things. And again, I've said 1,000 times, nothing wrong with stuff. But, you know, are we thankful that we can see, that we can walk, that we can talk, that we can breathe, that we
Yeah.
can hear? Are we thankful that we can get out of the bed and make coffee, as Marat said, any morning? So I want to encourage all of you listening. Let's pause a little bit in the busyness of trying to make a dollar, in the busyness of getting the kids ready for the school and dogs barking and kids crying. Man, when you start your day grateful, man, that's what I'm taking away. Not only is the power of the mind and the power of prayer and the things that happen with Marat, it's so encouraging. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, wake up every morning grateful. Marat, thank you, brother. So
I
appreciate your
appreciate you.
friendship. And when the book is done, obviously we'll have you back on, and then we'll provide a link to where people can purchase it. I know we'll purchase many and send those out, because at the end of the day, it's about the influence. At the end of the day, it's about how many people that you made better today. So Marat, love you, brother. Thank you guys so much.
Likewise. Thank you.
Listen, yes, brother. Thank you so much. And if you would please hit that subscribe button, whether it's, again, Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, we would be so grateful for it as we try just to make a little difference. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, Tim Talks. We'll see you soon.